Hello, Covington County. Welcome back to Good News Covington County with Brother John and Cousin Jared and Cousin Tom. Been gone for a couple of days. Had to get a little tune up down at the hospital in Pensacola, and I'm glad to be back with y'all. A little bit sore for the experience, but I'm gonna be a whole lot better once this thing is all over with. And don't worry about it. It wasn't anything serious. I had what they call a heart ablation, and they had to go in and tune up my heart. And I'm going to be much better in the future. But enough of that about me. Got a good show lined up today, and I thank y'all for being back with us since we were gone for a day or two. Certainly glad to have you. Appreciate every one of you that watches our show, whether you're in Opp or Andalusia or Sanford or Red Level or Strawn or Loango, Pleasant Home or Carolina, Heath or Gant. We're glad to have you with us. And I hope that you'll stay tuned for the rest of the broadcast because we got some really neat news about Covington County. Start out with an article from the Andalusia Star News written by Christopher Smith. And I like Christopher's writing. This is one of those things I think only in Andalusia would we be able to get a headline like this. And the headline reads, "Dealers cut ties with Yeti." Yeti, the cooler people. Now, I'm not making fun of this because I'm pretty serious about advertising and I'm pretty serious about a lot of other things. I'm going to read this to you, and then I'm going to make a comment or two at the end. Again, Christopher Smith in the Andalusia Star News. Yeti Cooler, a favorite brand among outdoor enthusiasts, has cut some ties with the National Rifle Association, and now local outdoor stores are cutting ties with Yeti. Yeti makes high-end coolers and drinkware. On Friday, a former NRA president, Marion Hammer, wrote a letter on behalf of the NRA Institute for Legislative Action saying that Yeti had suddenly and without prior notice declined to do business with the NRA Foundation. Hamner wrote that Yeti would no longer sell to the NRA Foundation, and Yeti had notified the NRA and a number of other organizations that they were eliminating what they referred to as outdated discounts and that it would continue to support the Second Amendment. Fletcher's Outdoors, who's got a lovely store here in Andalusia, released a statement on Tuesday saying that it had pressed Yeti for information since Monday morning and had not received any answers. Anthony King, one of the owners, says, "I talked to a Yeti spokesman yesterday, and they rejected every single question that I asked them." And I don't know Anthony personally, but I know his family pretty well, and I'm willing to bet that Anthony asked him some smart questions, and he was probably a bulldog about it. King said that his questions included whether or not the NRA would be offered other promotional programs and the names of other organizations whose promotional discounts were being canceled. Then King went on to say, "I just felt like the statement that Yeti made lacked meat and potatoes. If you're going to come out and make a statement, then you need to tell the full story." And I happen to agree with Anthony on that. Fletcher's Outdoor sells firearms, and King said he supports the Second Amendment in its entirety. 99% of the people that shop at Fletcher's are pro-gun, King said. And I believe that 60 to 70% of those people that buy Yetis are going to be pro-gun. So I think they're going to be in a massive damage control situation. Now here's a little background on Yeti. Yeti was founded by Roy and Ryan Siders in Dripping Springs, Texas in 2006. Since 2012, the company has been under the ownership of a New York private equity firm called Cortec. I think that they are forgetting where they came from, King said. They were made in Texas by God-fearing, gun-toting conservatives, and I think they are discounting all of our intelligence who support the NRA. Fletcher's will begin discounting Yeti coolers and has frozen all incoming Yeti orders some of which have been booked for 3 to 6 months. We're sitting on about $55,000 worth of Yeti merchandise right now, King said, and we have to get rid of everything that we have and donate all the profits to the NRA Foundation. King challenged many other gun stores to follow suit, and they have. Custom Collars, another place in this area over and up, who does business, believe it or not, on an international basis, posted on their Facebook page that they were cutting ties with Yeti and liquidating all their Yeti merchandise. Now, that's according to, Josh Messer, who is one of the owners over there, manager rather, at Custom Collars, says, if they're not going to support the people who support them, then we are going to liquidate everything. Custom Collars manufactures dog collars with GPS tracking to help hunters track back their dogs. And believe me not, their product sells all over the world, and they're a big hitter with Garmin, the basic people in that industry. Here's the funny thing that Messer had. It's not funny, ironic maybe. The first thing you see on a dog hunter's dog box on the truck is a cooler. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a Yeti cooler. So like I said, if they aren't going to support us, then we aren't going to support them. Casey's Propane Gas Company, also a Yeti vendor. It sells not only coolers, but t-shirts and tumblers. But since the NRA announcement has been made, the company has realized the products will lose their appeal. After all, this is South Alabama. I don't want to get too deep into it, but we're probably going to follow suit and not sell it at all, said one of the owners. The people that buy Yeti from us are going to boycott it, so it's not going to be smart to sell it anymore. Anyway, we'll talk about that in depth in a minute, but it's an interesting thing the way that it affects Covington County. We're going to take a break right now and be back shortly. Welcome back to Good News, Covington County. As we left, we were discussing the debacle between the Yeti cooler people and many of the outdoor industries around here, and particularly retailers that sell Yeti coolers in the Covington County area. I discussed what the people at Fletcher's Outdoors had to say, and then we had talked for a minute about the people over at Custom Collars and OP and their opinion on the Yeti cooler and coolers, and then we were talking about the people at Casey Propane who also have sold the Yeti line. It's a very interesting story. Several NRA supporters are expressing their anger via social media by posting videos of themselves blowing up Yeti products with their firearms with the hashtag pound Yeti ain't ready and pound Yeti cooler challenge. Now, this is real interesting. I know the Yeti cooler story because I not as much as I used to be, but I used to be a pretty good outdoorsman. And they came along, and it was the brand to have. I can't tell you, I've seen people that would have a Yeti decal on the back of the truck, that the truck didn't look like they could afford a Yeti cooler, but they could afford the decal. It was that much in vogue with outdoorsmen. I can't remember any selling a Yeti cooler or being around anybody that had a Yeti cooler that didn't hunt or fish. But it shows how a company can start out in one place and end up in another as time, as things morph or modify or change over time in the evolution of a company. This is originally 2 smart, good old boys from Texas that were blow molding this things themselves, and then the business got so big, they found out why not sell it, and they sold it to a holding company that's based in New York. And it shows like a lot of things in the United States that we've got 2 parts of the country that seem to be vastly different in the way that they view their approach to certain markets. I guess the most famous story I remember relative to something like this was when the Dixie Chicks came out and with a statement kind of bashing some conservative causes and people, and opposing or not opposing, giving accolades to some other than conservative causes. Well, the Dixie Chicks, big audience, most of their audience was conservative people that listen to country music. And when they said that, their sales plummeted. People took their records out of the record stores and places like that. They just plummeted, and I don't even know that the group still performs together, but it killed them financially. And I liked a lot of their music, especially Earl's Dead. But anyway, the funny thing that I thought came out of it was a quotation from Toby Keith, who's done pretty well for an old drill hand from Oklahoma, that said, one thing you got to do in this community is remember your demographic. And he's done a pretty good job with that. And the Dixie Chicks, you wonder who's managing some of these people, you know. They can have their opinions, but their opinions, if they want to have a successful business, and I'm not taking a side in this, although I do own guns, it's amazing how ill-advised some of the advice they can get, or maybe they just ignore the advice. I'm interested to find out, and I think Anthony King talked about this, that I'm interested to find out what position Yeti took with their relationship, their corporate relationship with organizations like Ducks Unlimited and National Wild Turkey Federation. Because both of those organizations, as a part of their fundraising, auction Yeti coolers or use Yeti coolers as a premium for signing up the tickets for their operations. So it's going to be interesting to see how those kind of things work out with them. And you know, I don't own a Yeti cooler, but it's interesting the way it's kind of blown up here in Covington County. We'll follow that with a short story on the one-man crime wave in Opp. There was a local man that hit 3 vehicles and injured 2 policemen in Opp the other day. An Andalusia man in Opp hit an Opp patrol vehicle and attempted to elude them, ending in an arrest with drugs found in his possession on Tuesday morning. Said that an Opp officer was patrolling on East Stewart Street when they saw an F-250, saw a car hit in the rear by an F-250 and started pursuit. Second unit was waiting at the intersection of East Stewart Avenue and Malloy Street for the driver of the Ford. At that time, the driver also hit a second vehicle, and the officers surrounded him and removed him from the scene. 2 officers were removed and treated at Mizell Hospital emergency room, and the suspect from Andalusia, Janarius M. Carter, age 24, was charged with assault in the 2nd degree, possession of controlled substance, possession of drug paraphernalia, an attempt to elude law enforcement, and his bond was set at $95,000. The officers also found spice, which is a synthetic marijuana, inside of his truck. Well, now that closes this second segment. We'll be back in just a few minutes with more good news of Covington County. Welcome back to Good News Covington County. And boy, have I got some good news for Covington County, and I think it's a big deal. For years, there's been a company located out on the bypass that sold electrical supplies and plumbing supplies all over this area. My father, in fact, it goes back so far that my father used to buy plumbing supplies and electrical supplies for them when he built a home. Buck Pollock owned it back there, and Bob Shelley and other people were involved in it. The company's name was Delta Electric. Started over here on East 3 Notch, North 3 Notch, and moved from there into a building out on the bypass. It still employs people, but the interesting thing about, as nice as the heritage is for Delta Electric, they have continued to move and adapt and update with the times. About 2 years ago, a young man from this area named Casey Teal. And I know Casey, and I think a lot of him. He's a mover and a shaker and a sharp operator. He's been involved in several businesses in this area, and he's been successful at it. My hat's off to him. Anyway, about 2 years ago, Casey Teal bought out Delta Lighting, and he had a vision. And the vision you can go out on the bypass and see today. Just go over to the bypass and right over there close to where you turn in to go to the stadium from the bypass, you'll see Delta Lighting. Well, it ain't Delta Lighting anymore, and it ain't my grandfather's or my father's store the way it used to be. It's a whole lot better. He has modified the outside of that store. It's got a great retail front. He's added 10,000 square feet to the building, and they've added an awful lot of different things to the lines that they've been carrying to better serve the community. He's got a decorator over there that works with him named Jennifer Scherzinger, and she's a designer and showroom manager. And this store, the idea is that the store will have everything that a home needs, from the floor to the plumbing in the cabinet and the cabinets. Delta Design is in the middle of a soft opening, which they had on Monday, and since then, Scherzinger says they've been very busy. They've had people come in from all over the place, and they're doing a real good job. Some of the things found at the Delta Design showroom are high-tech toilets that clean themselves, abstract light fixtures, cabinet sets, outdoor furniture, and plumbing. Scherzinger goes on to say, we really offer it all here. And this is kind of interesting. When they're talking about a complete menu, they mean a complete menu. We do landscaping, and I've seen some of that landscaping that Casey and his company done, and it's outstanding. Some of the finest homes in the Destin, Fort Walton area have been landscaped by Casey, and they just do a superb job. That's not a recommendation, that's just a fact, Jack. They also sell outdoor furniture. They build fire pits and have them available to other people, outdoor fireplaces, and even Blue Haven pools. So they've really changed that business from a place to you could go get a faucet to a place that you can get about anything. And they're dealing with contractors as well as the general public like us. The general public's who they're really aiming at with a lot of this. The grand opening will be within the next 2 months, and we'll try to have you some information on that. In fact, I hope that we'll have an opportunity to go over and just kind of give you a tour of the store in the next few days. Now, if you want to go over there and talk with those people, they're open plenty of hours. They're open from 7 a.m. until 5 p.m. Monday through Saturday. And every time I've been over there, even in the old days, those people over there were more than willing to be helpful to you. They can help you solve problems if you're not a contractor. They're great people. For information about Delta Designs, as they call it now, not Delta Electric, but Delta Designs, call 334-222-1799. Go in and tell Casey and them that we talked about them on WKNI. By the way, they don't advertise with us. I just think that much of Casey and his people. Over in Op, they've selected Alan Miller for their Hall of Fame. We're going to cover just a few things about Alan. He's originally from, I believe it's Kinston, but he served as a superintendent of education in Op for many years. He's been an outstanding person in the community. Former Marine, Troy graduate, worked his way through school, high school teacher, assistant principal, promoted to the general office's curriculum coordinator in 1975. Miller was, and this I think is important because this is how forward looking he was. Miller was promoted to central office in 75, but Miller was a pioneer in implementing distance learning and vocational learning in the schools in OP, and it's just kind of overflowed to other areas. He created the OP Schools Foundation and Pennies for Excellence, a program designed to fund classroom projects and scholarships for people in this area. Upon retirement, he didn't really retire. He founded the Alan and Marlene Miller Foundation, which continues to provide scholarships. He's been on the Mental Health Board for 30 years, been on the Chamber Board over in OP for 5, member of the Rotary Club, president of the University of Alabama Alumni Association, and served on the Covington Schools Federal Credit Union for 5 years as president. He's currently chairman of the Covington County Industrial Development Board. He's given a lot of his life to other people. He and his wife both have. They're active members of the First Baptist Church in OP and a real boon for the community. Thanks. I think you deserve it, Mr. Miller. We'll be back in just a minute with more good news. Welcome back to Good News, Covington County. I guess it's just a big day, a good day to be from OP. Some people in OP say there's never a bad day to be from OP. I don't know that. But I know that LBW, the community college here in Andalusia that has a branch over in OP, recognized a former instructor as their outstanding alumni. And that's Mr. Jimmy Hutto. He's originally from OP, and he's worked his way up literally through the system to become an outstanding individual in the field of education. He's been with the LBW in one way or another for 36 years, and he's retired. I'm going to read generally from an article in the Covington County Andalusia Star News here in Covington County about Jimmy Hutto. He'll be recognized as an outstanding alumnus of the LBW Community College on May 11th at their commencement ceremony. Just for a minute, I want to stop and say, I am so proud of LBW and the things that it does for our community. I've said this before, and I'm going to continue to say it. They bring so much to our community that we really take it for granted, and we ought to be much more appreciative. We've got a fine group of people out there educating our young people, and they're turning out a product that can go anywhere in the United States and do well. I could vouch for my own son, Benjamin, who studied there both as a regular junior college or as an undergraduate in education, taking his English and history and courses, and then also went on to study to be a scrub tech at their vocational center over in OP. And Benjamin did well, and they did such a good job of training Benjamin. Benjamin's right now preparing to go to med school, and I wish him the best. I think that's a real tribute to the kind of people that they turn out at LBW. And Jimmy Hutto from OP is an example of that kind of person. I'm going to tell you what Dr. Riddell out there said about him. Through his years of service at LBW Community College, he has touched the lives of so many students as an instructor and impacted the lives of adult learners and their families, and had a great working relationship with many area businesses and industries. We're pleased to acknowledge his many contributions to education and workforce development. Mr. Hutto retired from LBW in December of 2017. That's this past December, with 36 years of service. Now, Mr. Hutto said he was honored to be selected as alumnus of the year and that kind of stuff. But I want you to know this, see what kind of a man of the people this is, that Mr. Hutto is. This will tell you why they turn out so many good people. I'm going to give you a little bit of his journey. He earned, he originally received an education in air conditioning and refrigeration. Started a little business of his own. Then completed a certification in industrial electronics in 1984. He started teaching part-time at the MacArthur campus of LBW. Then In '84, he was given the opportunity to go full-time. He considered his pursuit, continued his pursuit of education at Auburn University, where he earned a bachelor's degree in adult education with an emphasis in trade and industrial education, and then received a master's degree in administration of higher education in 1991. In addition to working at LBW, he wrote a successful grant that allowed the development of the cooperative educational program, and then served as the program's director. He also served as the director of federal grant programs at LBW, then moved into the role of Associate Dean of Adult Education and Workforce Development. This is a guy, again, folks, that started out taking a course in air conditioning, repair, and building. Again, I want to quote Dr. Riddell. We're looking forward to recognizing Mr. Hutto as a part of this year's graduation program. The LBW's commencement ceremony is going to be on May 11th at 2 p.m. at the Kiwanis Community Center in Andalusia, and it will include graduates from all LBW Community College locations. That's here, Greenville. You know, they've got a number of campuses available that people can go to, and we would encourage you to go to that just to show them how much you support LBW. We certainly do here at WKNI, and we would encourage you to do as well. Now we're going to stop for a break right now. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to Good News Covington County, coming to you on this beautiful April day from downtown Andalusia on the square, where we've had just a little bit of a sprinkle today. I don't think that the rain's going to be more than 1/10 of an inch unless we get a sure enough thunder boomer through here. But maybe it'll settle down some of my arch enemy, the pollen. Another article in the Andalusia Star News, this time written by Lacey Stinson. Again, it comes out of OP, where they're talking about an opportunity that I'm aware that Mizell Memorial Hospital has offered for the last several years, and we always try to cover it because I think it's a big opportunity for people in this area. Mizell Memorial Hospital, for more than 15 years, according to Kristen Averitt, has operated a shadowing program for students that are in high school in this area. This year they will select 24 students that can do the shadowing. Now, what is shadowing? Well, shadowing is an opportunity for a young person to follow in the footsteps of someone in a career field that they may be interested in, with an eye toward finding out if they're really interested in this or not. What a great opportunity for the students, and what I think is a great community building thing for the people at Op Mizell. Now, Kristen Averitt, again, she handles an awful lot of the publicity for Op Mizell. We've had her on the show before, and they've got a great facility over there. They've got 2 shadowing sections of actually 12 students apiece. The first section will start on June 8th with a indoctrination orientation second, and will actually begin the shadowing from June 11th to 28th. The second session will have its orientation on July 13th, and that session will run from July 13th on to August 2nd. Students will begin work at 8 a.m. in the morning, and they'll work on Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Thursdays for the selected sessions. They'll also be there. This will give those students sort of a real leg up toward making what a decision they want to do in life. According to Averitt, again, we want these students to have an easier time making decisions on what they want to do from a real world experience. Students will have an opportunity to spend 1 day in each department at the hospital. They'll cycle through the emergency department, respiratory therapy, radiology department, and department of physical therapy, which are very important things. Averitt said there's a great opportunity for the students to participate in this. Now, they have to apply in advance. The student has to be from 14 to 18 years old or in the 9th grade before they'll be eligible and are entering the 9th grade this year. They have to have written permission from their parents to participate. All programs participants are required to attend the orientation. There are a couple other things they need to do. They'll be taught a code of conduct they'll have to follow during orientation. And another thing that they'll be required to do is to receive a TB skin testing during the orientation. 3 references are required for each applicant, and 2 from the teachers within the city school or county school system that they attend. The deadline to submit all these forms of application is May 16th, 2018. And again, it's a great program. And if you are interested in more, knowing more about this, contact Kristen, that's spelled Kristen, Averit, Averit, at 334-493-5511. I'll repeat that number again. Kristen Averit at 334-493-5511. It'd be a great opportunity for your kids, your grandkids, or some friends' kids, if they're interested in a career in public health or in the health business at all. We're going to stop right now for another break. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to Good News Covington County. Got a little bit of sports news, and this involves Andalusia. And we're proud to say that Andalusia baseball team is going into the second round of the state baseball playoffs. Andalusia, doggone, these Bulldogs have had an outstanding year. They've gone to the playoffs in basketball, football, and now in baseball. They've either got pretty good coaches or pretty good athletes, or maybe both. But we're proud of it. Ops done the same thing in many sports. We're proud of them, and Florella and Pleasant Home for what they've done this year as well. Red Level, Strawn have all fought valiant fights and played great games. We're proud of them, and now that the playoff season's here, we just want to give a little extra recognition to those teams. Andalusia, who has a record of 22-4, will travel to Montgomery tomorrow, Friday, to take on the Trinity Wildcats, who are 21-9, for the second round of the Alabama High School State Athletic Association's Class 4A state playoffs. This is from a great article written by Josh Dutton in the Andalusia Star News. Andalusia advanced to the second round of the playoffs after, and Josh used the term dismantling, and I think that's probably pretty close to what happened. They dismantled the Monroe County Tigers in the opening round in 2 games. They won by a total of 45-0. I remember what Grantland Rice, the great sports writer from a generation before mine, said, is there'll be a day when you play better than you ever imagined, and then there'll be a day when you'll play and it'll be worse than you ever dreamed. And I think that probably was the day that those 2 teams played. It looks like everything worked out for them. I just hope Andalusia has another day where they play better than they ever imagined when they go up and play Trinity in Montgomery. As I said, the Bulldogs outscored the Monroe County Tigers by a total of 45-0. And in both games, the 2 pitchers combined did not allow a single hit. In fact, only in the second game did anybody from Monroe County even get on base. Trinity secured their spot by beating UMS Wright, our old adversary out of Mobile. UMS Wright. They lost the first game and then to UMS Wright, and then beat them 7-6 the second game, and came back to win 3-0 in the third game. It'll be the second meeting between the Bulldogs and the Wildcats at Trinity this year. The Bulldogs won the first time they played as a 3-2 victory. Coach Tyler Dent, who I think has done an exceptional job with the Andalusia team, and he's got some great athletes on that team. Encourage the fans from Andalusia and I encourage you to go to Montgomery and watch the Bulldogs. You know, it's not often you get to see this kind of quality Bulldogs baseball, and the Bulldogs and Trinity are going to produce it. And what an opportunity to see some young talent that's probably going to play in the major league someday for just fun. I want to quote what Coach Dent said: "Come out and support these kids and all the things they've accomplished. We're looking forward to what should be a great day of baseball. Should be a doubleheader, maybe 3 games in a row, depending on how the doubleheader goes." The first game is scheduled for 1 p.m. And the second game is scheduled at 3 p.m. If necessary, Game 3 will be played Saturday at 1 p.m. So, wish the Bulldogs the best. Go Dogs. Do your best. Hope that you have a great showing against the Trinity Tigers. Also in local news, I want to share a little bit more light on what happened with the Lady Bulldogs softball team. They went and played the Lady Eagles from Pleasant Home the other day and on Tuesday, and Andalusia won by a score of 3-1 behind a strong pitching performance from Sydney Arnett. Pleasant Home's Ava Bailey was the one to start out things for Pleasant Home in what turned out to be with a leadoff walk in what turned out to be a pretty defensive battle, especially on the mound. Ava Bailey and Arnett each sat down. Both of these pitchers sat down the other sides with a pair of strikeouts and a flyout. Olivia Amerson got the first hit of the game when she led off in the bottom of the third with a double. The Lady Bulldogs loaded the bases with singles from Zariah Jones, who I know is just a sweet kid, and Mary Catherine Salter. Singles were from Millie Manry, from Arnett again, and from Reagan Clark to give the Bulldogs a 3-0 lead. Amy Kate Bulger put the Eagles on the board when she launched a solo home run to start the top of the 5th inning. Arnett finished the game for the Lady Bulldogs with 4 strikeouts and no hits and no runs allowed. A pretty outstanding showing for both the Andalusia teams in sports. And now we're going to break right here for a minute, and we'll be back shortly with more news. Welcome back to Good News Covington County. A great day to be in Andalusia. Of course, I believe that every day that you wake up and you're alive and you've got a pulse is a great day, especially if you get to live here in Covington County. My goodness, I've lived in Birmingham, I've lived in Dallas, Texas, I've lived in Phoenix, Arizona, I've lived in the Florida Panhandle, I've lived all over and traveled an awful lot of the world. And I don't know of a better place to live than here in Andalusia or here in Covington County. It's almost so good I want to keep it a secret sometimes. But there are big things happening in Covington County, and someday I hope we'll hear about them soon. But in addition to that, I'd like to talk to you about what's going on at Andalusia High School with their drama department. Now, there's an article by Christopher Smith in the Andalusia Star News where he talks about a play that they're about to put on here in Andalusia. And although it doesn't say the date of the play, I'm sure you can find out by calling Andalusia High School. They're going to put on a play called A Game of Tiaras, and it's going to feature mostly the seniors that are in the drama club at Andalusia High School. And I'd like to tell you how important drama clubs and speech departments at secondary education are. Now, I know you may not believe this, but I used to be one of the shyest kids that ever lived. And I took a speech course from the late, great Linda Latimer, who was my speech teacher and drama teacher in high school. And it changed the way that I looked at myself in preparation for things. And it really helped me might have been one of the best things for my career overall, because it helped me years later when I was having to make professional presentations or just walk in and meet people and pass the time and gain their trust and be successful in business. I say all of this stems from a speech class that I took. Now, I didn't act in a whole lot of plays. I acted in one. I played John Beston in The Mouse That Roared. Got the first laugh that I ever got in my life, and I'm afraid I've been hooked on it ever since. That's how important I view speech and drama to be for a student. Now, I took speech, got a minor in it in college, and worked with the drama department. Wrote a play that Troy, did something with in their drama department for children, and it's a great and rewarding area to work with. And a lot of people just, I guess, don't think they could enjoy it, but it's more fun than you'd ever believe that you can have. And it requires a discipline that a lot of people don't expect sometimes. But there's a need for every talent that you have when you take drama. Those backgrounds that they perform in front of, that requires talented people with carpentry skills and painting skills. The lighting requires people that have good knowledge of electrical work, how to make lights work, how to color the lights as they do different scenes. So and then there's, of course, the people that do the acting. They have to learn their lines and not blow their lines when they're in front of a lot of people. And if they're in a situation where somebody does blow their line, they have to be smart enough to counter that and bring the plot back to where it was. Now, this is going to be a play this time that's going to be, I guess, a combination of something like Shakespeare's King Lear and Game of Thrones. It's about an aging king and what he does to kind of ensure that his leadership, his dreams, vision for life are passed along to his children. And that's all I'm going to say about it, but sounds like a very interesting program. I want to tell you who the characters in the program are, because they're very, very important. First thing I want to start out by recognizing the director and the head of the drama, I guess, club department, and that's Ms. Cavell Jones. Outstanding lady, very dedicated, does good work over there, and does good work with these children. And I think our hat's off for her, because she doesn't just teach them how to act in a play. She teaches them how to do an awful lot of other things. Here are the prime players in this. Anna Terry is going to play Snow White. Clarissa Morgan will play Cinderella. Joe Ritter will play Belle. Alden Wells will play Ellie, the Snow Queen. Ryan Palmer will play the King, and Jonathan Weed will play Prince Charming. Now, these are all names that we know, so we should be a little bit comfortable. This is a play that the students picked out for themselves according to Cavell Jones, and it's kind of a dark, humid play, and according to her, they've done an amazing job of getting ready for it. Now, I just want to give you where these young people are going right now. Ryan Palmer, he's in his third year with the drama department, and he's going to go to work with Palmer and Sons Collision Center. Joy Ritter, who's also a senior, has enjoyed her time in the theater department. She'll enroll in Auburn University with a major in marketing and political science, and wants to become a campaign manager after high school. Andalusia High School senior Maggie Anderson plans to attend LBW Community College after high school and will obtain her degree in ultrasound technology. She was awarded a scholarship to the LBW Ensemble. The play will be held at the Andalusia Activity Center at 7 p.m., but the tickets are only available for family and friends, so it ought to be a good thing if you're a family or friend member. I guess, we're at the time of the show where we need to give a break from me, and we'll come back later with weather and some other news. Welcome back to Good News Covington County. Beautiful day to be in a beautiful part of the world, and here we are. I'd like to start with our buzzard report. You know, we do this almost every day. We got up here a little bit later than usual, so I can't tell you how many buzzards we've had early on, but I can tell you I saw a half dozen of them circling over the courthouse and another 4 or 5 circling over the old bank over here. So the buzzards are alive, active, and working here in Covington County. And now for our weather. Today, as we can see outside, showers are likely with a possibility of a thunderstorm before 1 o'clock. There's a chance of showers between 1 and 4 p.m. throughout the county, with partly sunny skies and a high near 77 degrees. Wind will be out of the west from 10 to 15 miles per hour and a 60% chance of rain. Most of the rainfall being told less than 1/10 of an inch, except where the thunderstorms occur. Tonight will be mostly clear with a low around 54 degrees. Wind out of the northwest around 5 miles an hour, becoming calm in the evening. Friday, the weather will be Sunday, and with a high near 76, and then calm weather in the evening, again with a low around 55, 56, and a wind out of the north at about 6 miles per hour. And that's our weather. I've got a couple of public, some announcements I need to remind you of that are coming up around this area. This afternoon at there'll be a town hall meeting, I believe, at the Opp Chamber of Commerce, where Mike Jones and Jimmy Holly come in. They're two of our great local politicians. They'll be speaking over there about their legislative agenda. And then tomorrow and Saturday, the Alabama Master Gardeners will have a program down at the ASCS offices on what I call the southern bypass of Andalusia, not far from where the Kiwanis building is. They'll be selling local plants, and then they'll be selling some other varieties, and there'll be a great resource for advice on planting things in your yard, things that you might have problems with, or opportunities to grow things better. And these people are no slouch. They didn't get to be master gardeners by sitting in the back and just tumbling the compost. These folks know what they're doing. Use them as a great reference. Saturday evening up at Strawn School, one of our locals, Deputy Jeff Daniels, is going to be putting on a 3-on-3 basketball a tournament with law enforcement from this area. They're going to start out, I think, about 6 o'clock, but they're going to have basketball teams, 3-on-3 basketball teams from Crenshaw County, the local sheriff's department, local police departments, that kind of stuff. And they're raising funds this year for Meredith's Miracles. And there's a real touching story there about a friend of mine's son, Gordy Cartwright, and his father, Rick. What a wonderful, wonderful man, and what they went through. And they're raising funds for people like that. I think Rick will be there cooking hamburgers and hot dogs, and it should be a great event, again, with all the proceeds going to Meredith's Miracles. Now, for those of you that are members of the Andalusia Chamber of Commerce, I want to remind you that the Chamber is having their legislation, that what they refer to as a legislative luncheon, on Thursday, May 3rd, at the Power South Complex, north of town on Highway 29, at their conference room. Again, the guests will be Jimmy Holly and Mike Jones, and they'll be discussing what their view of the outcome of the last session was and where the next legislative session is going. Now, I know some of you may not think that's very important, but they're only your tax dollars that they're spending. And I gotta, give props to both Mr. Jones and Mr. Holly. They've worked together real well for Covington County, and I think they will continue to. Jimmy Holly's been a steadfast fixture in the state Senate for a number of years, and Mike Jones has done an incredible job in the House, not just for us, but for the state as a whole. In fact, he's even mentioned as a candidate for Speaker of the House. Seems to gather that every time. I think he's got a great political future, but he's done a lot of good things for us. I can tell you personally, he's helped us out when we in the J family had a question about a scholarship that he was remotely involved with. He got his own people involved with it and helped us at least get some clarity. So I know he's the kind of guy, this is not an endorsement, but since he's running unopposed, I can tell you, I know he's the kind of guy that helps out the people in Covington County. He cares for each one of us. He's not some high and mighty guy in an ivory tower. You can go right into his office over here across the square from us or up in Montgomery where he's got a tremendous staff, and they'll do everything that they can to help you out. Well, folks, that about winds it up for us this day. We're glad you watched us and hope you'll continue to do the same thing. We'll be back tomorrow with more, I'm not going to say action and adventure, but more news from Covington County. Have a good day.